Well, congratulations to you on the love for this show. That I was telling somebody just the other day that I was just like, this show is sort of this strange animal where it's unbelievably paced, it's unbelievably funny, but it doesn't ever give any of its weight away. Like you buy every single thing in the story, and these characters are not caricatures of people, they're real people. And I'm sorry, I may have said this to you last year, but like I will pay you $1 million a day to give me Martin Short screaming. Like, what a blessing. Like I actually bought I wanted to be Oliver for Halloween last year, but I couldn't find the right coat. And then like
Ah,
in November or December at Target, I saw that they were selling long purple trench coats for women. It was like a new line, and I'm very short, so a trench or a long pea coat is sort of hard to pull off for me because I'm like under 5'6", so it would drag along the floor. But I found the perfect one. It's a little because I'm don't have the proper shape for it, but I'm working on it. We'll see.
oh my
Um,
God, that's fantastic.
yeah, we'll see. Um,
Fantastic. I love that you love his screaming. Yeah.
Oh my God. Someone told me the amount of times that one of my editors says like you're Oliver Putnam. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Um
Well, that's an honor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to gush at you before I jump into
No,
something else.
thank you. It's so
Yeah.
nice.
One of the things that I love about season two is that it really reinforces, we got some of this in season one, but it reinforces how much the Arconia itself is really like this breathing animal.
Yep.
And I love that it has we dive so much into the history of the Arconia. I guess I wanted to know from you like what is important to you with that, not showing too much. Like we're literally climbing through the walls, which I thought was really awesome. Yeah, I just love that about season two.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so crazy when, now that if there's a world of a season four for this show that I'm sort of in my head a little bit quietly,
Mhm.
while in solidarity with writers and
Mhm.
actors in this moment deeply, your brain doesn't turn off, as we all know. But
Mhm.
I go back to season two and I think about making that headline of like, we need to get deep into the Arconia and the history and everything else. And we do that with Shirley MacLaine and we do that with the board president. And
Mhm.
her mother was the board president, blah, 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 Bunny's mother. And then the passageways and the idea of that felt really interesting. But it's also, God, we went even further. There was a moment, and I'll share this. I don't think I've shared this with anyone. It's an exclusive joke.
Mm. Okay.
There was a moment there where, until it became just a production nightmare, which is my specialty, um, the I had we were down the road of discovering a defunct basement pool
Ooh.
at the Arconia, and that there was a sort of whole arc season wide storyline around this pool and the potential for what could happen there, where it could go, and all of that. So that was one exploration of the Arconia as well that we were diving
Mm.
into. But it was always, you know, pre-war apartment buildings in New York.
You gotta
That's
live
it.
in there. Yeah.
There's such depth to them and history and devotion
Hmm.
to them, and I just think it's like it's rare, and I find that sort of communal living experience and who's lived there, the fact that Bunny Folger had grown up every day of her life in that crazy apartment.
Yeah.
What kind of person does that make you? And your whole worldview is so changed by it. So all of it felt very, we really dove deep into like how long they'd all lived there, how long every character has lived there, who you bump up against, who you rely on, who you trust, and then what
Mhm.
have you discovered and what have you still not after many years.
Yeah. I will say if I haven't finished season three, obviously I'm on episode 6, um, which I know has not even aired yet. But I'm
You
trying to
haven't seen six? Oh yeah.
no, I'm trying to pace myself really well with the screeners I have. I was like, well, once it's over, I don't have anything else to cover. So I'm
Oh,
trying to pace myself with them. But I was like, if Death Rattle is a huge success, maybe Oliver can create an immersive Splash the Musical revival in a pool in the
I'll tell
basement
you,
of the
when you
Arconia.
hear, I love that you are only up to six because when you hear what's coming, just hearing and seeing the what's
Hmm.
coming from that show, believe me, Pasek and Paul, who I had love, that and we were all like, "There's a world. This is a thing we do." That's. I mean, it would be the greatest dream. But yeah, that
Yeah,
that I Death Rattle, Dazzle, one of the two.
that's great. Oh God. I have to say something that I love that season 2 does is season 2 is very self-aware of I guess I don't want to say aware of the show that it's within, but I love how written throughout and threaded throughout there's all these illusions of well, we can't come back for a season 2. Season 2s are always bad. I guess I wanted to know I don't say how do you balance that, but like I wanted to know also like how important the self-awareness of that is to you, like the Arconiacs being like, what are they doing with this season? I don't know if I was like that's sort of like what I remember people were saying about like Serial season 2 when that podcast came out, and they were like, um this is totally different than season 1. So yeah, I just wanted to pick your brain about that because I thought that was such a really funny, clever through line about maybe getting in front of, haters of people who always say about all television, like, well, season 2 is the make or break of anything, if that makes sense.
That it happens all the time, and I was
Yeah.
reading. I don't tend to read reviews for a while because I go into a sort of like I forget that people are going to watch it and
Blinder.
talk
Yeah.
about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then I get pummeled like within 3 days before reviews start dropping. Then I'm like, oh my god, I have to go into a I have to take to I take to bed. Um, but it's so interesting. And the bottom line, uh, honest answer to that is that is it true to the character? So you've got a
Hmm.
director, an actor, and a podcast fan, and it's now become the thing you do. We all do this. We sit and like go, well, season two,
Hmm.
and so it felt natural to me that they would be talking about it about themselves.
Hmm.
Um, Oliver, I think, doesn't like to repeat himself. Charles has never done a sequel to Brazos.
Hmm.
So the idea that all of them were in this situation of, we got to really step it up for season two felt funny, yes, and a bit of a wink wink to all of what we were experiencing in our own personal writer's room. And so there was a moment, and I'm bad because I usually resist stuff like that, self-conscious sort of like
Hmm.
but it felt more
It,
true to those
yeah.
characters. I always like the minute, someone's album, CD, whatever, drops and they've become so famous, they're talking about their own plight in songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so hard for me now. I got to deal with this and they want this from me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like lost it. I don't like to hear so much about, but if you touch it here and there, we probably did one or too many to it last
Oh
season, but
no, I think it's great.
oh good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt true. It felt true. And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that I don't know, just hearing you say that like Oliver doesn't like to repeat himself and uh Steve's character doesn't like even the reboot's a totally different thing. So I mean, these three are amateur podcasters, so I imagine that they would have those feelings. So I think it's totally character driven in
thank
my
you.
opinion.
Thank you, Joey.
You're welcome. I did want to talk about like I guess maybe this is like a mystery thing, like sort of twisting people's perception with like I was just thinking about Poppy and about how Poppy in season 1 very relatable. You sort of like you want her to do well. Wow, she has this really horrible bitchy boss. And then, we know what happens at the end of season 2. And then I kept thinking about how that is kind of parallel to what with uh Bunny does, with Bunny is seen as this really mean, really crotchety person. And then as season two progresses, thank you for giving us so much Jane How to Shell, I will say. Um,
Oh, yeah,
I think it's really cool how like Bunny, we become more sympathetic to her. We learn about her like really deep loneliness, which I think is really, really important to the success of season two, and sort of how Poppy is hiding herself and twists herself in another way. I don't know why I just kept thinking about that in the last couple of days
I
about
love it.
how we take these characters. I don't know if it's like a mystery thing or if it's like creating red herrings is harder than we think it is, but I guess I just wanted to know about twisting our perception of characters.
Well, it's one of my favorite things, and I feel it's almost necessary in this setting
Hmm.
because it's different. You've got 10 episodes to write a mystery,
Hmm.
10 half-hour and plus episodes to write a mystery, and that is that is quite a task. It's not a movie, and I've written many movies and that were mysteries, and you can sort of but it's challenging to twist and keep it alive and keep it sort of like people on their toes as much as possible on the
Hmm.
mystery side. But the way in which to do it, and I think is to and the opportunity is to really dive deep into character.
Hmm.
And whether or not all of that is on the screen doesn't matter. We have to do it for ourselves. So looking at either the victims or the killers, I've always been like, oh, well, the the opportunity here is so great to be able to sort of really dive deep into the character history, what has formed them if they're
Hmm.
going to be doing this, and then hit the points when you're going to show that and share that so that you dimensionalize. So much of like our world is like stamping people, victims or culprits,
Hmm.
as one thing or another so hard, and then move on, move on, move on. So I love the opportunity to be able to sort of go, it's
Hmm.
much more gray as to what alters a person's perspective to lead them down a certain path. And you get the time to do it in that way. So both of those things, you're so right, are great parallels, but in the inverse of it. But someone who is like Bunny, who's coming hard and letting you know exactly what she thinks in every moment around that building,
Hmm.
is tends to be prone not to share the vulnerabilities. And so I'm really interested in the things that people don't show, and then you get to show them in a TV
Yeah.
story.
I kind of love how Only Murders really does take that, I guess, that binary of we say this person is good and this person is bad. And like even just thinking about putting their picture up on one of those bulletin boards and moving them around. And as we learn more about them and as the depth of character gets, deeper and deeper, they do shift around and our perception changes so much. Even somebody like Amy Schumer. Dear God, I'm so happy you put this. She's in this season. Like it's so she's like
I
playing
love
with that's on like another level too because I feel like she is playing with like audience outward perception of her and she's playing herself. And Jesus Christ, it's just I
She
love it.
was, and she bolted in and like a lightning bolt into that season and into our show, and it was a last minute bit of casting. She was so heroic in it all, and kind of a marvel. We were all kind of stunned by Amy Schumer through
Yep.
that couple of days she was a part of our show, and it was heaven. She's
Oh,
really great and got it, and like knew what it needed to do and what she needed to do for it. It was just fantastic. You
yeah.
should see us on the cutting room floor with Amy Schumer. Really
I love,
good.
oh my God. If they ever like whenever the show is ever over and you guys do like a complete series like Arconia shaped box set. I'm just throwing that out there. If you want to
Oh, I
have
love that.
it'll open. I have plans for it. We can talk. But I mean like if you want to include some of those deleted scenes, we should do that. I do
I
want
love,
to I never really like to talk about like what was it like to work with this person just because I typically don't like to ask those questions, but I mean, I'm sorry, Shirley MacLaine, I want to know I like the casting of the show makes me scream. Like season three, screaming with every announcement. A
Yeah.
season two, her walking in that insane black and white getup with the cane, her blindly not being able to cut cheese. I it's just delicious, and I kind of wanted to know because someone as a titan as Shirley MacLaine bringing her into this very specific world, I wanted to know what it was like, kind of just to direct her and be in her presence.
Oh, well, okay. Here's the surprise, weird surprise of all of this is I've known her and am a very good friend of
uh,
hers for many years now.
okay.
Um, and we became friendly working on a project together. And then it took off into lunches, and I'm going to Santa Fe and hanging out at her place. And
Oh,
it's been a lovely surprise of a friendship for both of us, I think. And I just talked to her the other day. She's doing great in Santa Fe. And uh, but so I knew her, and I really, though, I knew her well enough to know we were in the pandemic still, and so are you going to come to New York? Would you be interested in coming to New York?
mm,
And I was waiting for the, oh no, God, no, I can't do that. You have fun with your show, whatever. And it was an immediate like, oh, that sounds like I could use a change of pace.
hmm
And she loves the guys, and so that part of it, and I knew her well, and in some ways, Joe, it made me laugh because uh, there was, I mean, you do get that intimidation, like, oh my God, I'm directing, and I'm directing Shirley,
hmm
um, and there's no way around the history around Shirley MacLaine. And
right.
everyone felt it. Steve Martin was like, I can't believe I'm going to do scenes with Shirley MacLaine. Um, Everyone felt it on the set. And you feel this new sense there. And she was as, this sounds an odd word choice, but liquid is what I
Mm,
remember. And because there's nothing set about her performance, when she's in it. So the cheese is all her coming up, let me figure this out. But I never knew how she was going to be doing it from take to take.
okay.
Nothing she did, nothing she said felt. And Steve was fascinated. He's like, that's what it is. You never know where she's going. And then
hmm
she hones in like a laser to nail the part that's most important in the scene. She's really fascinating to watch and work with. And a bit random in the way it felt like for all of us, like, oh my God, where's she going? What's she
hmm
doing? But she's exploring, she's getting in and wanting to find the more interesting choices. And so
Ah,
in
love
rehearsal, it was
that.
amazing. It was amazing.
She like, I don't know what it is. I've been obsessed with her since I was like 8. I think I saw like Steel Magnolias at yeah, probably younger than I should have seen it, and everything. It's just sort of like I could not believe, this sounds so silly, but like I could not believe I was just like watching these really funny, really beautifully paced scene. Even the end when her and Steve have that moment, she comes to his place and they have like that sort of uh you know, quiet, intimate discussion when she reveals who she is. That scene is so good. Um
Yeah, right. And they were
yeah.
both so happy to be doing that together. And we spent a good amount of time on that. It was that lovely arc and her exit. It's one of my favorite sort of sequences. Her exit in episode two, framed the in the car and looking out and hearing her voiceover talk about the
Oh
ways
yeah.
a place can be haunted,
hmm
and coming back to a place, and that really kicks off this whole season about the Arconia and what it can do, and Charles's story, and all of the questions and mysteries about things that you never knew. It's I like the whole season as a reframing for everybody a lot of times, but it is, in that case, imagine it's like living in Columbus, Ohio, living in wherever, and then like, what are you talking about? The place I've been, was the home
Mm,
of, was the thing, like, and what that does to you, or a new understanding of your own familial relationships, um, and then you're still in that place that holds that history. It's all really interesting to me, but she was the beginning of that for that character, and uh, holding all the secrets and clues. And
Mm.
she's got that thing. My favorite line, maybe the whole season, is, and I think I've seen a meme of it, but or a meme. The is the in that scene in episode 9 between the two of them when she says, you like solving little mysteries, don't you?
Mhm.
You know, like fun for you, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like a slyness to, I don't know. It's sort of
Always.
always it's sort of like there's never not like a glint or a wink in she can say it as she's getting into a car, and I feel like I would have to chase after, be like, "What did you mean?" I need, I don't know. Some,
Exactly.
there's
She
something.
cuts right through. That's true of Shirley in general in life. Like
Mm,
she's not interested in the surface talk. She wants to get right underneath and go, you tell me what really is going on. Tell me what's really going on. It's
oh,
interesting. Yeah.
I love it. Um, I was reading an interview. Well, first, I do want to say just before I dive into my last question. There's just a lot of really lovely stuff in here. I love all the stuff with Howard. That Blackout episode is, oh, so that's I have watched that specific episode many a time just because I don't know, there's themes of like stuff will come out in the light, and I love Michael Cyril Crichton in general. Anything he's in, I'm so happy, and I love that there was that little spark of a romance in that episode. There's just a lot of really lovely things in season 2, like Mabel going off to Coney Island, that whole thing. Her chemistry with Michael Rappaport is really great. I have to say, them being put into that room in the finale, I do not like tomatoes. I think they're disgusting, and I feel like that was written specifically for me, to be terrified of them.
I,
um
by the way, Joey, and I can't remember if I shared this with you the last time, but being in Columbus, I grew up in Reynoldsburg,
hmm,
Ohio, the birthplace
okay.
of. Do you know what the birthplace of?
No, maybe I do, and I'm just forgetting.
If you go, and I think it's still there in most of the ways into Reynoldsburg, Ohio, there are signs on the street.
Oh, Welcome to Hell, or
No,
the
it's
no.
literally called the birthplace of the tomato.
Oh God.
I know. And I think, unless I'm wrong, I think there's still a tomato festival in Reynoldsburg every year.
Looking it up right now.
Give a look at it.
Maybe.
It might not be something you want to go to because of your
No.
election, but it's a it's
Oh my God.
that the tomato has been a part of my life for a very long time.
Yeah, it's
Because of
in.
that.
Oh, I just missed it.
Yes,
It's
it's a oh really? It was in August?
it was in August. I think it said August 10th,
Oh,
11th, and 12th. Oh darn. I uh I
I'm
used
so
to
sorry.
I
Yeah.
used to tell people that I was allergic to tomatoes whenever I would go to a restaurant, and I tell everyone there was a store. I was in an Italian restaurant. I'm sorry, this is not about the show, but there
Sorry.
was we were at a
So tomato.
restaurant, and it was an Italian restaurant, and I told them I was like deathly allergic to tomatoes. No, I can't have any. And then I was sitting there with a friend and eating bread with a dip, like an olive oil something, and the waitress came over to ask how we were, and she's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I said, "What?" She's like, "That dip has tomato in it. Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh no." And I literally got up and left the restaurant and never went back in because I was too
Oh.
embarrassed. I was like 20 when that happened. Um,
That's hysterical.
sorry, it's a total sidebar. Um,
No, I feel you on it.
yeah, I just think season 2 is so infinitely watchable. The thing that I think is it's really rare that a show uh is I watched the last time I watched season 2, because I've seen season 2 about 3 times. Um,
Oh, thank you. I love that.
sure. It's I
Good stuff.
watched the last time I watched it all in a day, and it was like I started it at like 9 in the morning, just casually, and I was like, and then by the time I got to episode 10, I was like, oh, I watched the whole season. Um, I don't know. I think season 2 beautifully picks up where season 1 left off, and it doesn't. this may sound like a weird thing to say, but it builds outward in a way that like it oh God, I'm not articulating this correctly,
No,
but
but you are, and that's exactly right. I mean, it in many ways does that because there was so much about that growing thing that was happening between the trio over the
mhm,
first case in season one, and it was, so eh, touches of who are these characters, what can they solve for each other, potentially down the road, and then you have to go deeper with all three of
mhm,
them in that way, and the setting and everything else. But the exciting sort of thing also with that season was that, oh, wouldn't it be sweet if we look at these two seasons as sister seasons, so for the case.
mhm,
So the idea of how Poppy tied into the original podcast that brought the trio together,
mhm.
and that it sort of like all becomes sort of a build to, after the hard work of learning about each other, putting up with each other, growing with each other across these two seasons. You get to this thing where, oh my God, we're right back where we started from to solve this case in the end of season two.
Yeah. So I was gonna ask if season one and season two are sisters, is season three the loud singing cousin that forces you to watch them perform?
It's literally exactly, you worded it exactly as I was going to chime in and say.
Like you go to Thanksgiving, they're like, I made a number. We're gonna do it after we dinner. And I was like, okay. But I love that season three is like it goes this way, and it's so like it feels like almost on a level like this shouldn't work, but it works.
Oh, thank you. I love it so much. I'm so
Oh,
proud of it because it was big leaps,
oh yeah.
in every way. And I thought, oh boy, well, we got to roll with it. We've got this insane cast, and if you're not going to just roll the dice and go, once in a lifetime, let's see what we get.
That
And
song.
to
Oh,
their credit, literally everybody just jumped in and was
it's
excited about
it's
that.
very playful. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And Meryl, that was the question. I remember I was in that theater at the United Palace, when we were shooting, and she sat down next to me and she was like, "So you like to do these things that are right on the edge, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do." I guess I do. I never thought of myself though. I don't think I'm edgy, but I
Mm,
will, take advantage of, I do like to tell stories from what's the craziest thing you can do, and then how do you make that real? How do you bring it back
mm,
grounded? And then you've got something that feels like, to me, like I don't know what to expect next.
mhm.
And I like that, for storytelling. I like to know, what right on the edge of your seat, whether it's funny or insane, or what are they going to throw at me next. But
Yeah.
it has to, the key there, it all has to feel of a certain quality of grounded within real strong personalities of characters like Oliver Kenyell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what I think it's so I think it's funny that a lot of people are like Meryl Streep is so good. I was like, yeah, she's Meryl Streep. And then it's like a lot of people are like, this is the best thing she's done in years. And I was like, she's Meryl Streep. But then it's the thing that I love that this show does, season three does, is that it truly makes her an underdog and it makes you root for her in a way that you don't expect to. And I have to just say that season three at the end of every episode, I was like, they're the killer. No, they're the killer. Like season three does a really beautiful job of really I don't want to say not confusing you, but really shifting your perspective. Like it's Kimber, no, it's Meryl, no, it's so and so. Like every single episode, I'm convinced that something else is true. And I have an idea who I think the killer is, but I won't tell you what that is. But I'm holding on to that for dear life. But I don't really have a point, but
No,
there's
but thank you.
yeah.
And it's the challenge of the storytelling, and not to have that feel repetitive too is also a challenge in itself, sort of like, okay, it can't be this person, it's too early, blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
So we are all very conscious in our writers' room of of and shaping it in that way, that so it is very much on our minds to sort of play with the expectations in all ways, hopefully.
Hmm.
Um, that's the fun of it too, but
Hmm.
it's challenging.
Yeah, you can imagine. Oh, okay.
You know,
Well,
little
I did
cookie
not realize we've been talking for half an hour, so I will
doesn't
thank
surprise
you
me.
thank you for taking the time to speak with me, John. I did mention to you last year that if you if you go on Etsy, you can find a Splash t-shirt. I was literally just on there seeing like what Only Murder stuff is around now. So I think you can create a line of musical theater related Only Murders merchandise because not only now is there a Splash the musical t-shirt, there are Death Rattle hats.
There
So
are.
there are. I'll send you a link. Hold on. I'll send it to you on Twitter.
Oh my God.
I have to
Yes.
find it again. But yeah, because I'm trying to get like an Arconia something for my for our media room, but I haven't settled on what it is yet.
Yeah.
And when I was just like casually looking, I was like, there are already Death Rattle hats. So you can just there's another whole world envisioning of what a Only Murders Broadway merch table looks like
God,
in
that
my
is
brain.
so true. Well, they may have yet to come.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again so much for your time. Congratulations on the show being nominated again. I'm just so in love with it. So
Joey,
thank you.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. This is so nice. Again, I'm sorry I was late getting on, but and I hope you're feeling better from last week. But
Oh,
okay.
yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. This is so nice.
Yeah.
I always love this. I
Till
more
next time.
whenever you
Yes.
want.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.